والإهمال الطبي المتعمد والاعتداءات الجسدية والنفسية. بل وتذهب بعض الشهادات إلى توثيق انتهاكات جسيمة تصل إلى الاغتصاب والتعرية القسرية والتبول على المعتقلين، فيما وصفه خبراء بأنه مختبر للوحشية منذ اندلاع الحرب على غزة. وفي سياق متصل تشير المعطيات إلى أن أكثر من 100 أسير استشهدوا داخل السجون منذ أكتوبر 2023، بينما لا يزال مصير عدد من معتقلي غزة مجهولاً في ظل اتهامات بالإخفاء القسري.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Minister of State in charge of hydrocarbons, Mohamed Arkab, has received in Algiers the Executive Secretary of the Latin America and Caribbean Energy Organization, OLIDCDE, Andreas Ribeludu Smitman, now on a working visit to Algeria, with talks culminating in the signing of a roadmap for cooperation between the two sides. Diplomacy Chief Ahmed Attaf has held talks here in Algiers with the Caribbean State Minister, with the Chadian State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Abdoulaye Sabri Fadoul, shortly before co-chairing the 4th session of the Algeria-Chad Joint Governmental Commission. As the Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa called on the international community to put further pressure to force the Israeli occupying authorities to unlock the Palestinian tax revenues, the Israeli occupying forces pursued their attacks on Gaza, killing at least 5 people. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm your host, Mr. Sharfi. The Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, Army General Said Chengriha, has presided over the National Army Club here in Algiers, the opening of a national seminar held under the theme Protecting the Country's Vital Infrastructure Against New Threats, Current Situation and Prospects for Improvement. Army General Said Chengriha stressed the importance of protecting Algeria's vital infrastructure, adding the critical installation and infrastructure are no longer merely economic assets, but have evolved into lifelines that ensure the stability and security of the modern state. He said that they play a central role in promoting development and strengthening national security across its various dimensions. The Army General highlighted that safeguarding these facilities represent a strategic and rational choice, describing it as an essential pillar of the national defense system. The State Minister in charge of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, has held talks in Algiers with the Chadian State Minister for Foreign Affairs, African Integration and Chadians Abroad, Mr. Abdoulaye Sabri Fadoul, shortly before co-chairing the 4th session of the Algeria-Chad Joint Governmental Commission. On the occasion, the two ministers discussed how to boost the various aspects cooperation relations existing between Algeria and Chad in line with the guidelines of the leaders of the two countries, President Abdelmajid Tebboune and President Marshal Mohamed Idriss Déby of Chad. Mr. Attaf said the Joint Governmental Committee reflects the renewed momentum in the Algerian and Chadian relations.
اللجنة الحكومية المشتركة للتعاون الثنائي.
The Joint Governmental Committee for Bilateral Cooperation meets at a time when relations between the two brotherly countries are experiencing renewed momentum and remarkable dynamism driven by the leaders of the two brotherly countries, President Abdelmajid Tebboune and His Excellency President Marshal Mohamed Déby, who have both affirmed on more than one occasion a shared commitment aimed at achieving 3 main objectives. Firstly, to give Algerian-Chadian relations the attention and care they deserve and to follow them up at all levels and at the highest level. Secondly, to seek to explore and activate the vast potential for cooperation and partnership between the two brotherly countries in all fields of mutual benefit.
Chad's foreign minister stressed that Algeria is a key partner whose experience and capacities can support his country's development and that of the wider Sahel-Saharan region.
La richesse de l'agenda de cette commission mixte.
The importance of the agenda of this joint commission reflects the dynamism of our bilateral cooperation. The many draft agreements and memoranda of understanding cover various areas for our economies and our societies. Chad remains convinced that Algeria, through its experience, industrial capacities, a long-standing African commitment, constitutes a leading partner to support our development efforts, as well as those of the entire Sahel-Saharan region.
Ceux de l'ensemble de la région sahélo-saharienne.
The two sides also discussed several issues of common concern, including the current situation in the Sahel-Saharan region, developments in the Middle East, and the Palestinian issue. The first session of the Algeria-Chad Business Council was held in Algiers to explore cooperation opportunities and establish partnerships between the economic operators of both countries. More details with Miriam Barshi.
The opening session was supervised by the Foreign Trade Minister, Mr. Kamer Zig, alongside Chad's Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Mathieu Guiboulo-Fanga. Mr. Zig said that the session is an important step in strengthening economic cooperation between the two countries, adding that the creation of the Council is an operational mechanism to translate the brotherly relations and historical ties existing between the two countries into concrete economic partnerships and mutually beneficial joint investment projects. He also stressed that the Council reflects the strong political will of the leaders of the two countries, President Abdelmajid Tebboune and President of the Republic of Chad, Mahamat Idriss Déby Itno, to promote economic cooperation and develop trade exchanges.
This council does not represent merely a passing meeting, but rather the culmination of a strong political will from the leaders of the two countries. It is also a new roadmap based on our firm belief that our two countries possesses the capacities and capabilities that qualify them to build a real economic and trade integration far from dependence on the outside.
Mr. Zig highlighted the strategic importance Algeria attaches to strengthening its economic openness in Africa, noting that Chad is a key partner in this approach. He called on Algerian economic operators to seize the opportunities offered by the Chadian market, reaffirming his department's commitment to provide all necessary facilities to encourage the presence of Algerian products in this promising market. The Chadian Minister of Trade and Industry, Mathieu Guiboulo-Fanga, for his part, held the holding of the Council's first session, describing it as an important step to strengthen economic cooperation between the two countries, highlighting that his country considers Algeria as a first-class strategic partner.
Algeria, with the extensive experience and recognized competence it possesses, is considered by Chad a first-class strategic partner. This is translated by the presence of the Chadian delegation here, and it reflects the strong will of the highest authorities of our two countries to build lasting bridges and to structure ties between our two private sectors.
The meeting enabled business leaders from both countries to explore cooperation opportunities, build direct partnerships, and discuss ways to strengthen economic and trade ties. It also highlighted plans to organize an Algerian products fair in Chad and reaffirmed the importance of boosting direct business exchanges and joint initiatives to enhance trade and economic integration.
The Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has received the Executive Secretary of the Latin American and Caribbean Energy Organization, OLATE, Andres Ribelido Smithman, now on official visit to Algeria. The meeting centered on ways of enforcing cooperation with this regional organization, within which Algeria enjoys permanent observer status in line with the potential and expertise available to Algeria and its partners in Latin America and the Caribbean, both in conventional energy resources and in the field of renewable energies. The two sides also exchanged views on developments in global energy markets and examined ways to strengthen South-South cooperation, particularly through intensified coordination in international energy fora. The Minister of Finance, Abdelkarim Bouzid, is taking part in New York in the Economic and Social Council Forum, devoted to the follow-up of development financing for the 2026 session. During the general debate, the Minister of Finance will present a statement on Algeria's efforts at both the national and international levels in the field of development financing. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has urged the international community to urgently scale up development financing, warning that geopolitical crises, rising debt, and increased military spending threatens to derail global progress. More details in this report with Jamal Salmani.
Speaking at the opening of the 2026 Forum of the United Nations Economic and Social Council on Financing for Development, Mr. Guterres hailed the Sevilla commitment adopted last year as a turning point for multilateralism.
Sevilla was a moment of choice. At a time when multilateralism is under multiple threats, member states made a choice to stand together, to overcome geopolitical divisions and chart a common course, and to keep their promises to developing countries which are starved of investment and drowning in debt. The task before us is steep. We are living through a moment of profound turbulence. Geopolitical divides are deepening. Millions are caught in prolonged cycles of suffering, instability, and displacement. When, on top of these challenges, we face a major new shock, the conflict in the Middle East. The violence and economic fallout are spilling across the region and around the world. We are seeing in real time the war's impact on the cost of fuel, fertilizer, and food, as well as trade, transportation, and tourism.
Mr. Guterres stressed that the successive shocks are placing a heavy burden on the public finances of developing countries, which are already weakened by rising debt and limited access to investment. The funding gap for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals now exceeds $4 trillion a year, a gap that continues to widen. In light of this situation, Mr. Guterres has called for concrete measures centered on three priorities.
It's time to rev up the machinery of finance by increasing the assets housed in multilateral development banks and fully leveraging them, by making progress on blended finance platforms to combine public and private finance in new expanded ways to support development, and by mobilizing domestic resources and channeling them to the areas of greatest need, including by tackling illicit financial flows. Borrowing must work for, not against, developing countries. When channeled towards investment, debt is an important ally of development. The Sevilla commitment outlined new steps to deliver bold debt action, a borrower's platform to give developing countries a stronger voice in the debt architecture, which was launched last week. New efforts to develop principles for responsible sovereign borrowing and lending.
At the end, the UN chief also called for a far-reaching reform of the international financial system, which he described as outdated and insufficiently representative of current economic realities.
The 10th Congress of the National Union of Sahrawi Women have kicked off in the Smara province within the Sahrawi refugee camps, in the presence of representatives of various Sahrawi institutions and provinces, as well as foreign delegations and international organizations active in the field of women's rights. At the opening of the 10th Congress of the National Union of Sahrawi Women, the President Shaba Sini Ibrahim said the event is an opportunity to assess recent activities and set new directions to strengthen the role of Sahrawi women in development despite ongoing challenges. In a speech delivered on this occasion, Sahrawi President and Secretary General of the Polisario Front, Ibrahim Ghali, said that the achievements of Sahrawi women are a source of pride for both women and the Sahrawi people.
These gains achieved by Sahrawi women with merit are a source of pride for Sahrawi women and for the Sahrawi people as a whole. And this also raises the roles required from Sahrawi women at this exceptional stage of our people's struggle, during which the national cause faces numerous challenges, especially with the rapid developments taking place on the international scene and the plots and intrigues of the enemy.
Mr. Ghali reiterated that a just and lasting solution to this conflict lies in guaranteeing the inalienable right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination and independence in accordance with relevant United Nations resolutions. As the Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammed Mustafa called on the international community to put further pressure to force the Israeli occupying authorities to unlock the Palestinian tax revenues, the Israeli occupying forces pursued their attacks on Gaza, killing at least 5 people. The news agency Wafa stressed that the attacks targeted the southern and northern parts of the Gaza Strip, including the refugee camp of Jabalia. This came as the European Union's member countries are meeting today in Brussels to examine a possible suspension of the association agreement concluded with the Israeli occupying authorities. You have been listening to Radio Algeria International. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. Today we're focusing on an important global observance, World Hemophilia Day, marked every year on April 17. This day is dedicated to raising awareness about hemophilia and other bleeding disorders, supporting those affected and improving access to care worldwide. In the next few minutes, we'll explore what hemophilia is, what causes it, how is it treated, and why awareness and early diagnosis matter. Hemophilia is a rare genetic bleeding disorder in which the blood does not clot properly. Normally, when a person is injured, proteins in the blood called clotting factors work together to stop bleeding. In people with hemophilia, one of these clotting factors is either missing or present in very low levels. This means that even a small injury can lead to prolonged bleeding. In severe cases, bleeding can occur inside the body, especially in joints and muscles, without any obvious injury. There are 2 main types: hemophilia type A, caused by deficiency of clotting factor 8, and hemophilia type B, caused by deficiency of clotting factor 9. Hemophilia is usually inherited, meaning it is passed down from parents to children through genes. It is linked to the X chromosome, which is why it primarily affects males, while females are often carriers. However, in some cases, hemophilia can occur without a family history due to a spontaneous genetic mutation. Understanding the cause is important because it helps families make informed health decisions and seek genetic counseling if needed. Common symptoms include prolonged bleeding from cuts or injuries, frequent nosebleeds, easy bruising, bleeding into joints causing pain and swelling, and blood in urine or stool. In children, parents may notice unusual bruising when the child starts crawling or walking. Early diagnosis is key to preventing complications and improving quality of life. Although hemophilia has no permanent cure, it can be effectively managed. The main treatment is replacement therapy, where the missing clotting factor is injected into the bloodstream. This can be done on demand when bleeding occurs or regularly to prevent bleeding episodes. Modern treatments have greatly improved life expectancy and quality of life for people with hemophilia. Some newer therapies, including long-acting clotting factors and gene therapy, are also being developed and used in certain settings. Because hemophilia is genetic, it cannot be completely prevented. However, complications can be reduced through early diagnosis, regular medical care, avoiding high-risk activities that may cause injury, vaccinations to prevent infections, and education on how to manage bleeding episodes. Families with a history of hemophilia may benefit from genetic counseling. Awareness is one of the most powerful tools we have. Many people living with hemophilia, especially in low-resource settings, still lack access to diagnosis and treatment. On World Hemophilia Day, communities around the world come together to educate the public, support patients and families, and advocate for better healthcare services. Hemophilia is often underdiagnosed, especially in many parts of the world where access to healthcare is limited. Without awareness, families may not recognize the symptoms, such as frequent bruising or prolonged bleeding, and may delay seeking medical help. This can lead to serious complications, including joint damage or life-threatening internal bleeding. Raising awareness helps communities recognize early warning signs and encourages timely diagnosis. The earlier hemophilia is identified, the sooner treatment can begin, reducing long-term health risks. Awareness also plays a crucial role in fighting stigma and misinformation. In some communities, bleeding disorders are misunderstood, which can lead to isolation or discrimination for those affected. By educating the public, we create a more supportive and inclusive environment. Another key aspect is improving access to treatment. Many people living with hemophilia still do not receive adequate care. Awareness campaigns help put pressure on health systems and decision makers to invest in essential medicines, training, and specialized care. Education empowers patients and families. When people understand how to manage hemophilia, how to prevent injuries, recognize bleeding episodes, and seek proper care, they can lead safer and more confident lives. Finally, awareness builds solidarity. It reminds us that hemophilia is a global issue that requires collective action from governments, healthcare providers, and communities alike. By increasing understanding, we can reduce stigma and ensure that people with hemophilia receive the care they need. Hemophilia may be a lifelong condition, but with proper care and awareness, those affected can lead full and active lives. On this day, let us remember, awareness is the first step toward better care, stronger support systems, and a healthier future for everyone affected by hemophilia. Let's use this day to speak knowledge, show support, and promote access to treatment for all. Thank you for listening. Stay informed, stay healthy, and join us next time for another edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. Bye-bye.